Hello, hello, hello. You got the wrong camera, but now you got the right one. Hi, friends. Happy Friday. I am sitting in my sewing room and I am super excited to kick off my sewing marathon this weekend with a bit of catch up on some projects, or a project rather, that has gotten a little behind because, quite honestly, I'm not super thrilled about making this one. But it is one that is near and dear to my heart. So if you don't know and can't recognize by the fabric that I've got laid out here, let me just tell you what I'm working on. Last month or so, my daughter asked me if I would make her a quilt with elephants on it. And I said, okay, you got to pick the elephant fabric. Well, I had curated a few pieces of elephant fabric and added them to my stash with the idea of one day I would use those for a quilt for Zoey or something for Zoey because my daughter loves elephants. Well, she chose the blue elephants from the Tula Pink Everglow line and then promptly walked out of the room, which is actually the way I like it. Pick the one focal fabric. If I'm going to make you a quilt, pick the one focal fabric that you really like and let me choose the blenders. Let me choose the fabric that plays with it and let me come up with the design. Don't micromanage my creativity because that project will definitely never get made. So I am working on that tonight. I came up with a block design and I made it two different ways, just alternating some of the fabric. And I even did a live stream several weeks ago where I showed you on a not Friday live stream. So it's only like an hour long, but it's a tutorial from start to finish in real time, walk you through every step how I make the block. And I give you all the cutting instructions for it so that you could make that block. But if you wanted to make a quilt out of that block, all you have to do is figure out how many blocks you want to make and then figure out your yardage from that. But all the cutting instructions are in that video. And I have them in this video as well, since I'm going to be working on this. And I also have a link in the description box down below to that original video tutorial in case anybody wants to watch it a little bit later. It's a pretty simple block, just lots of stitching and flipping. Stitching and flipping, that's going to be a meme. It's just a bunch of stitching and flipping. And so what I've been doing for the past hour is I cut out some lengths of fabric that I can use to subcut. This one feels like it didn't quite get fully pressed. It feels like there might be some starch on here. So I'm just going to press over this again. Stitching and flipping. What was I saying? Oh, the past hour I have been starching the fabrics that I'm going to need to subcut for some more blocks. So I don't know how much yardage I'm going to need because I haven't calculated all of that. So I'm kind of doing this as I go. I'm pulling off a length of yardage and then I'm starching it and cutting it down and I'm making some blocks out of it. And then I ask myself, do I need more blocks? And if the answer is yes, then I rinse, lather, and repeat. And I just keep doing that until the quilt is going to be the size that it's going to be. But I am going to switch things up a little bit with this tonight. During one of the live streams that I had, somebody had mentioned about using these coordinates that I had bought from the Tiny Dots line from Tula Pink to kind of break up the elephants a little bit. Because I was talking about how I didn't love the overwhelming appearance of all of the elephants. And they had a fascinating idea. And so I'm going to do that tonight to see if it works. We're going to do maybe a couple of blocks with it. We'll see. But I'm going to show you, these are the coordinates that I also ordered to go with this kit, but I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with these three tiny dots just when I bought the fabric. And so I kind of set them on the shelf and I was like, well, maybe I'll use them in the border. But then I thought, you know what would be great is in the block, and let me show this to you. In the block, this focal fabric back here of the elephant, let me pull it down so you can see. This focal fabric right here of the elephant, which might be a little hard to see on that one because it's kind of like a dark on dark, but here's the second block right there. You can see the elephant a little better in here. That focal fabric is a square that is 6.5 inches cut on point. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if instead of having the elephant in the center of all the blocks, I had kind of like a 9 patch And that's what I'm going to use these for. But there's a reason why I'm talking you through this and why I've not started making it, because I want to show you another script I wrote this week that may help you in your quilting journey. So it's called the X Patch Calculator. We're going to head over to the website really quick. I'm going to show you my quilty calculators that I have been having a ton of fun building out with my husband. So this is honestly why we're not even going to complain. I like doing it. Do what makes you happy. This is what's making me happy right now, so this is what I'm doing. And I have a feeling that it'd be helpful for some of you too. So I'm going to go over to my screen. So this is my website. And on the website, there's a menu option called calculators. And when you click on that, every calculator that I have is listed on there. These are all free. You are more than welcome to go use them. You don't have to pay anything. They're there for you to use, and they're easy and intuitive to use. There's no ads on the pages, at least right now. Maybe 10 years in the future it'll be monetized some way, but there's none of that stuff. There's no ads. There's no overloading images. It's just the instructions and a calculator and the things that you need to know, which I like to call the fine print. And it's formatted in such a way that if you bookmark my website on your phone, it's going to load real nice on your phone. So if you're out and about, it should load fast and it should load right there, easy to read, no trying to zoom in. It's all right there for you. So let me show you what this X Patch calculator does, because it's going to come in handy tonight. Let's say we have a patch block that I want to make. And by patch block, what I mean is one of those blocks where you've got like 2 rows of 2, or 3 rows of 3, or 4 rows of 4, or 5 rows of 5. Typically, we as quilters call those like a 4 patch because you have 2 times 2, and that gives you 4 pieces of fabric. Or a 9 patch because you have 3 rows of 3. 3 times 3 gives you 9, so 9 patch. 16 patch, you get the picture, you get the picture. So I call this X patch because the calculator is going to allow you to figure out what you need to make a 4 patch, a 9 patch, a 16 patch, and then a 25 patch. And it's really, really easy to do. So all you're going to do is load this calculator, and you've got instructions over here. So if you don't remember how to use it, just follow the instructions. Super simple. From the quilt block configuration, you're going to click that drop down and you're going to tell it what orientation you want. And in case you can't remember what a 9 patch is, I did put in parentheses what that is. It's a 3x3 configuration. I know that's what I want to use. So I'm going to pick that, and then I want to put in the finished size my block is going to finish at. Now remember, if I'm cutting my fabric at 6.5 inches, I have to take a 1/2 inch off of that finished block for it to be the finished size. So I know that my elephant fabrics, which I happen to have a whole stack of right here, I know these all measure at 6.5 inches. So if I were to take the finished size of this, it would be 6 inches. And so I'm just going to put a 6 in here, and I'm going to hit calculate. And then when I do, I'll get this text underneath here. Probably need to drop off some decimal points, still need to clean it up a little bit, but it's telling me in order to create my 9 patch block that will finish at 6 inches, I will need 9 squares of fabric measuring 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. Your seam allowance is already worked in there. Of course, you need to have your 1/4 inch seam allowance, but that's going to help me figure out how to cut this. Since I know I'm going to use these to make a 9 patch, I need 2.5 inch squares from all the fabrics that I'm going to put into my finished 6 inch 9 patch. Does that, I think that makes sense. So that's what I wanted to show you tonight. Before I jump in, whose sound went out? Kimberly says Kimberly said, my sound went out. Oh, wait, I paused. Got it. Did it not, was the sound not working over here? Okay, it was working there. Was it working here? Okay, yeah. Just wanted to make sure that the scenes had the microphone working. There's nothing worse than technology issues that you didn't even know were there until after. Oh, goodness, I'm going to sneeze. You're welcome. Everyone's sound went out for that one. All right, so we've got a few folks in the chat that I just want to say hello to. So if your name is green, that is me. That means you're a channel supporter for me here on YouTube. That is separate and apart than my VIP membership. So I want to give all of you a shout out. I'm going to go back to the beginning of the chat and call out some names that I see in green. I see Louise is here, and she looks like she was the first one in the chat, closely joined by Pat DiPietro. Hello, Pat. We have got Angela Christine here, Alita Brown, Stacy Baker, Doreen Gurin, Ruth Roberts, who is here from upstate New York, Kelly Molitor, Math Geek Shelby, Zaza Burns is here, Dale D is here, hello, Jeannie is here. I'm scrolling, and Deb's Firefly Cottage just joined. So thank you for supporting the channel. I really appreciate that, Debs. We also have the one and only Ian, who is here in the chat tonight. Pam Comley is here as well. And I think, though, oh, Lucy Gignac, hello, hello, hello. And then I think I've covered all of the green names. I'm just scrolling to make sure I didn't miss any of my channel supporters. Oh, did someone do updates on the website? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So if you guys couldn't tell, I'll just pop back over there. Ian's pointing this out. The channel, the website this week, not only have I been working over the past couple of weeks on adding these calculators to the website, but I've gone through and rebranded everything, including, if you haven't noticed, a new logo. How do I do? Open image and new tab. This is the new logo. What do you think? What? I love it. I could not be more happy with this. It's great. It's everything I was hoping for. I had AI kind of come up with an image, like a new logo. I was playing with ChatGPT a little bit, and it gave me a generated image. I was like, oh, this is cool. And I passed it over to Ian. I was like, what do you think? He's like, oh, I love it. I was like, I do too. But as I started playing with it, I was like, I need this to be cleaner. I need an actual graphic designer to work with this and take this as a concept and build something out. So I passed that along to a freelance graphic artist who you can hire on Fiverr, Fiverr.com. And he built out that graphic for me this week. So that is now on all of my social medias. It's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, it's on the website. And I also took the time to reformat the website, make it look cleaner, make it easier to get stuff. And I took the fluff out. I took the fluff out of the website. You don't need 15 different pages about me, right? If you want to know more about me, you can send me an email or you can watch my videos. What I really wanted to bring straight up to your attention is access to the VIP homepage, which is where you can get all your downloads, giveaway information when I have giveaways, the calculators, any free patterns or free resources, or my pattern shop, and just like my frequently asked questions, like what do you use in your sewing room, stuff like that. So I tried to put all of those in a nice set of menus that are at the top of each page, and across the bottom of each page, which I'll show you really quick. At the bottom of each page, I have all of my affiliate links, and they're at the bottom of every single page on my website. So don't have to worry about, wait a minute, I can't remember where her affiliate link is. They're always at the bottom of every single page across my entire website, and they always look the same. So as more affiliates or brands may come on board with me, I might have to rearrange the icons a little bit, but if it's in one place on the homepage, it'll be in that same place on the calculator page. All right. So I showed you how to use the X patch calculator. And now what I'm going to do is pull out my cutting mat and my ruler, and I'm going to cut some 2.5-inch squares. Hello, Susan, I see you. She said, hello, will this show up? Yep, it showed up for me. Hello, hello, hello. Vicky Bush says, hey, Becca. Hello, hello. So I want to show you guys how I do my cutting. I do have, because somebody's going to ask, don't you have one of those? What is it called? The ruler that just makes all the slots. You know what I'm talking about. I can't remember what it's called, but I do have one of those. And somebody's going to put it in the chat, and I'm going to be like, somebody's going to put it in the chat, and I'm going to be like, oh yeah, that's what it's called. I can't remember what it's called, but I do have one of those. I just find I'm actually faster cutting this way. Auntie L says, Becca, have you seen the new So Yeah rulers yet? I heard they had them. No, I have not seen them. I do have it on my list to buy them and do kind of like a review and see how they work. I've heard that they have the anti-slip on the back like the Quilters Select do, so I'm really eager to see how they hold up. All right, so how do I do my cutting? Let me take you to the stripology. You guys got it. Thank you so much. I can never remember what that's called. Isn't that horrible? So here's how I do my cutting. First, I take, and this is a great way to demo it because I've got such a small piece of my yardage. I take my yardage. Now this can be just a fat quarter. Di from Sister Chick Quilting says, Becca, by the way, I've been referring to your quilt size calculator ever since my video. Yeah, I saw. I'm glad you finally found it. That video was hilarious. Don't forget, guys, by the way, if you are a YouTube creator, you want to share your channel, drop exclamation selfie in the chat. Jules asking me, Becca, are you going to do the Tula Pink block of the month from Fat Quarter Shop? No, probably not. I need to get caught up on all the things that I do have, which, speaking of, I did get caught up on Arabella. And I did see Linda Denton said, did you hear that Soya has had a fire? I did. And I also saw that they had a 20% off basic sale yesterday. And thanks to 2 employees, everybody is safe. The fire was put out and the person that started the fire has been apprehended. So it sucks that they had a fire, but it sounds like all good news. All right, let me get back to the demo and then we'll chat a little bit more. So that way the folks that want to know what I'm trying to show them can get the information and then we'll catch up again in a minute. So when I'm ready to cut my yardage, I take whatever it is and I always fold it to the selvage side. It's just easier for me that way. In fact, when I'm putting my fat quarters away, I always fold the cut size to the selvage sides and then I put it away like that. That way, when I pull the fabric off of my shelf, whether it's a fat quarter or yardage, it always comes off folded to the selvage, and I know I can start cutting with the fabric from selvage to selvage. This piece has been starched. I've got it folded once and then folded again the second time. Now, when I fold this, I'm doing a couple of things. The first thing I'm doing is lining up these selvage edges so that they're nice and even, and then I'm laying it down on a flat surface and making sure that it's laying flat and it's not twisted. If that's true, then I take this fold and I bring it up to the selvage and I'm making sure that this is parallel and nice and even. And I'm making sure that down here, I didn't introduce any twist or bubbles or warpiness. I want this to still lay flat. Once all of that's done, I'm going to turn this so that the fold is down towards me and the selvage is up at the top. And I'm going to grab my ruler. And I'm going to figure out how many strips can I get out of this chunk of fabric. Well, Quilty Calculator could probably help you with this. I know that out of this 5-inch, it's a little over 5-inch, out of this 5-ish inch piece of fabric, I need to get 2.5-inch strips. Well, 2.5 times 2 is 5. So I'm going to put my ruler over so that the 5-inch mark is right on top of this fabric and I've got a little bit extending past. Then I'm going to look for this edge of the ruler and make sure that all 4 layers of the fabric, because I do have 4 layers of fabric, it's folded twice, all 4 layers of this fabric is right on top of the fabric over here. So I should have fabric extending off the 5-inch mark and fabric extending off the edge of the ruler. And then the last thing, and this is crucial, I need one of the lines that's on the ruler to be directly on the fold right down here on the bottom or exactly parallel to it. I just find it's easier to put a line on the fold. If those 3 things are true, then I can come in with my rotary cutter and clean up this edge. That's going to give me a nice clean cut. And then I can test to see if I went all the way through all 4 layers by looking to see how my fabric came off. If it came off in multiple pieces like it did here, that means I did not go through all 4 layers. I could have a wobble or an indent there. So if that's the case, I'll scoot this over just a hair and I'll try again. And I'm going to keep doing that until I get, this was all one piece. It's just very, like, it was all one piece. It's just threads because I only went over like a thread. Once I went through all 4 layers of that, then I know that all 4 layers of this are nice and straight. Once that's happened, I'll very delicately turn this around, and now I'm going to put that 5-inch mark right on that straight line. In fact, we're going to, nope, that's what we're going to do. We're going to put the 5-inch mark directly on that line, and then I'm still going to use that fold as a reference because I want this corner where the fold is and the clean edge is to be a perfect 90 degrees, and my ruler is going to tell me if that's true. So it should stay straight all the way down here and straight all the way there. And then I'm going to clean off the other edge. Now I have exactly a 5-inch width piece of fabric. I'm going to pick up my ruler and move this over 2.5 inches. 2.5-inch mark right on that edge. And now I have 2 strips of 2.5 inches of fabric. The wider your ruler is, the faster you can go with this because you're always going to just continue measuring from that same piece. I learned this method of cutting when I first started quilting. I saw somebody do a YouTube video on it. Before I even had a YouTube channel, I was like, oh my goodness, that's genius. And I've been cutting this way ever since. There's 2. And now I've got 2 more to cut out of this beautiful purple. This purple reminds me of something Tiffany would like. So Terry had asked me before I started cutting down my fabric, did I see that you got a vintage machine for your sister? Yes, you did, Terry. I bought her a 1955 Singer 99K, and I will tell you she is happily stitching away on that thing. Okay. Oh, I didn't cut my 2.5. That's not going to help me. Rain's Whisperlin says, thanks for the instruction. My cutting is definitely questionable, but I'm getting a lot better. It takes practice. So now I'm going to subcut these into 2.5-inch squares. So I'm comfortable cutting through 8 layers of fabric. You do what works for you. This is fine for me. I'm going to stack each color family, or each pair of fabrics rather, on top of each other, and I'm just making sure that they're laying on top of those lines that are on my mat. I can use my mat to measure if I want. I don't have to use my ruler, but I'm probably going to use my ruler. So what I'm going to do is just line this up. Oops. I'm just going to put all of them touching actually so that they don't move around. I'm going to use my ruler to do my measuring. That's usually what I do for everything if I can. And I'm just going to make sure that as I'm doing this, my line here in between these 2 fabrics is together, it's straight, and I have a line on the little gap in between these 2 fabrics, and then a line right here on the bottom and a line right here on the top. That's going to make sure that I'm cutting nice and straight. I'm also going to cut 2.5-inch squares, so I know that the most I can cut to do my chunking is 7.5, because this is an 8.5-inch ruler. So I'm going to be able to get 3 out of each set. So I'm going to cut through here, and then I will just set these aside. If they pull away cleanly, then I'm good. And I'm just going to turn my little mat around. I'm going to turn my ruler around and put that 7.5-inch mark right on those cut edges. Make sure I'm straight again and cut this off. These are trash. I would not keep them, but if that's what you prefer, you do what works for you in your sewing room. And then just like I did when I cut my strips, I'm just going to move my ruler over and subcut this down. So I moved it from 7.5 to 5. That's going to give me 2.5-inch pieces. I'm going to move over to 2.5. And that's going to give me 2.5-inch pieces. And just like that, I have got 24 2.5-inch of the purple, 24 2.5-inch of the green, and 24 2.5-inch of this lighter purple, whatever color. Now these pieces I'm looking at, and I think I might be able to get another set of 2.5 inches out of. So I'm just going to lay them here all nice and move these out of the way so my rotary cutter doesn't get them. I'm going to bring my ruler in and look to see if when I put that to it, yep, I sure can. Look at that. I'm just going to make sure that the raw edges are all lined up. When I put my 2.5-inch line right there, look at that. Now I have 32 of each color. No time flat. It actually took me longer because I had to show you what I was doing. Look at that. Isn't that great? Love it. So now that I've given you the really good close-up shot here, we can go back to the face camera. Debbie Dunn says, I saw a quilt/Afghan on YouTube the other day. Pretty interesting. Pretty cool. Hey, Jackie. Okay. I want to build out some 9 patches. But I'm thinking in my head, I'm not really sure. I don't want to do one of these. In fact, we'll just go to the setup for tonight. I don't want to do one of these things where I just have the same. I don't want to do this. And maybe I do. Maybe I do. We'll see. Maybe they're all going to be different. Maybe the 9 patches will all look a little different. I'm not sure I want this to be my 9 patch. I'll show you what the other option is. Sometimes, you know, you get a look in your head. And by the way, I'm stacking up 2 pieces with each one of these because whatever I choose, I want to make the 9 patch block twice because I want to do one where we have the stripes on the outside and one where the dots are on the outside because I want to see it both ways. So that's why I'm stacking 2 pieces in each one of these. There we go. That's kind of fun, right? And then we could change up which ones are in the middle, although I kind of really like that green in the middle. The good news is it takes 3 of each fabric for every block, so I'm not going to have an unbalanced amount. Now, the other thing that I could do, what I was thinking in my head, is something that looked maybe a little like this. What I do know I'll want to do is not really worry about making any of these blocks really intricate. Now, the only problem with this is I'm going to have an imbalance because these are going to be, I'm going to use 4 of the plus and 4 of the corners and 1 of the middle. So I could always change it out so there's a different one in the middle each time. Bye, Linda. She said, heading off to Quilt Guild. Have fun. Bye-bye. Somebody asked what I was working on. Jackie did. I'm continuing to make blocks for my daughter's elephant quilt. So what do you guys think? Option 1 or option 2? What would you put into the quilt? And for reference, I will show you what the quilt blocks look like so that you can kind of see. Let me know in the chat. We'll just look at the chat messages to see. Just type 1 or 2. This is 1. This is 2. What would your option be? Now, I'm going to tell you that when I put this in, I'm going to snowball around. Well, it's going to be on point is what's going to happen. Yeah, so it'll be on point. So let me show you what it looks like on point because that might change your mind. This will be down here. This will be here. So this is option 2 on point, kind of like that. This is, uh-oh, I think it's like this. Option 1 on point. They have to be on point just like the elephants are in order for this quilt to work. The 9 patches are going to be in the center of this block instead of some elephants. So what I'm looking for is which of these on point 9 patches appeals to your eye in the quilt layout. Both. One. Let me see, where's my mouse so I can scroll in the chat and see. 2. Lots of people like the 2. Something's off with the 3, though, isn't it? Like, when you put it on point, it just doesn't work. Yeah, when you put it on point, I don't know if I love it as much. 1, but symmetrical because I like the green. Okay. What if we did... I don't like those 2 on the outside either. So what if we did 1 like this? Oh, I like, yeah. Okay. New choice. You can vote again. 1 or 2. Can you use the 2 light purple in 1? So like this. Oh, you know what? You know what we could do? What if we did this? Just to give it some pattern. That's a long way to get there because I could have made this a solid piece of fabric. No, I'm only going to work with these 3 colors because this is what's in the quilt. This is just going to be an accent piece. Deb says, greetings. Sorry, I am no help. I love Tula, so I adore both 9 patches. Bill said, start a poll. Okay, that's probably easier, yeah? We'll start a poll. Which one? One, 2. I hope I called it right and left the right way. So you can put it in the chat if you want to too, but I am watching the chat, but I'm going to watch to see which one gets the most votes. I said votes. Eeny, meeny, dragonflies for Donna said. Daughter's quilt, right? Ask her. It is, but she won't come in here while I'm on a live stream most likely. But I got to tell you, 2 is leading by a lot. It's like 58% for number 2 right now. Make 1 symmetrical with the purple and the lilac. So you mean like this? I think number 2 is going to be what wins. Where if it gets over 60%, we're just going to go with it because it's at 59 now. Farrah Week says, late coming in. They are both pretty, so it's hard to choose. Deb says, number 2 looks blah to me. It kind of, I like this pop of the diamonds, right? That's pretty. On 1, you could change the color around 1. Whoop, whoop. Like this. So when it's up against the dots, we could have it like this. I kind of like, I like that. And when it's got the stripes up against the elephant, we could have the lighter fabric on the outside maybe, but I don't think that's going to matter because the edges are always going to hit whatever's framing the elephant. Try with the lilac corners of the left block. Okay. It's so amazing how we could just sit here and play with the fabric all day. All the different ways that this lays out. The diamonds in the line pop. They do. They do. And it pulls out the green from in here. I don't mind this, but I really like that green. New poll. Everybody said new poll, new poll. Okay. Isn't it funny? We'll start a new poll. Now, no bows, no bows. Mike saying it needs some bows or something. I don't want to do that because it's so busy already going. There's so much going on with this already with the shapes and the fabrics. I feel like if I make these little pieces have little, all this is supposed to do, the whole intent of this is to put it in the center here so that as I'm looking at the quilt overall, I have a place to rest without looking at an elephant. I mean, you could. Kathy said, could you use both? Although now everybody's saying one. Like 84% is one. It's so funny how you change just a little bit. You just change the placement of one fabric and you're like, okay, I love that. This to me looks like a jewel box. And I really like this. This is nice for a traditional 9-patch, but I don't know if it's gonna be, I don't know if this is calling to my heart. One with green and blue only. Okay. Nice vote, Dan. I like that diagonal green stripe too. Yep. No, Jeannie, Zooms are the last Sunday of every month. So the next one will be, I think, like September 29th. Yep. So Terry says, yes, it looks like a jewel box. It does to me too. The green squares down the middle will distract from the elephants. Huh. I hadn't thought about that. Well, you know what? Linda Denton has it right. She said, once you make a block, you will know. So the only thing that we can really do, these are the 2 designs that we came up with. We're going to make 2 9-patches of this and 2 9-patches of this. And I'm going to put the borders around them, one with the dots touching and one with the stripes touching. So we'll have one of each, because this is what I'm talking about here. If you haven't paid attention, do you see I have 2 different frames? So we're going to do some with the stripes touching, one of each with the stripes touching, one of each with the dots touching, and we'll see how it looks. And then we'll make our decision. And we'll even toss it up on the design wall to see how it works. So let's just get sewing. Talking about which one is better isn't going to get us there, is it? So we'll go ahead and end the poll and let's get stitching because Ruby's ready. So the biggest thing about this is making sure that all of my fabrics stay organized. So I'm going to do what is referred to as string piecing, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. Most of you are probably already aware of how to do this, but I know for some of you out there, this is something that hurts your brain. So string piecing is when you just continue to stitch without breaking your thread. So I've already got my leader on the machine, and I'm going to pick up my first 2 pieces of fabric from over here. I'm going to put them right sides together. Then I'm going to pick up the next 2, put those right sides together, and I'm going to, ooh, that does not look good. Okay, there we go. Put those right sides together, and I will, this one looks like it got cut a little short. It must not have gone all the way through there. That must have been the one on the fold at the end. And then the last 2 right sides together. And I just want to make sure that the side where these 2 fabrics meet right here is what's lined up over here, because that's the side I'm going to stitch on. Then I'm going to come over to my sewing machine. My leader's already under the needle, and I'm just going to start stitching off of the leader onto my first 2 pieces of fabric. Then when I get off of that, I'm going to go to the next 2 pieces of fabric. This is what's in this position and this position, and I'm going to stitch. And then I'm going to pick up the 2 that are here, and I'm going to stitch. I think I've even heard this called web piecing. And then once all 3 of those are stitched together, I'm going to clip off my leader, and I'm going to make it an ender, which will be a leader for the next go around. Now I'm going to leave these all stitched together. It's going to keep them all attached and nice and organized. So I'm going to open it up, and now I'm going to come through and pick up 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to leave them like this. 1 is on top, 3 is on the bottom, and I'm going to set it over here at my machine. I'm going to bring this little piece, this little block back over here. I'm going to take fabric 1 that I picked up, and I'm going to attach it to the right side of the middle block in the top row, and I'm going to stitch off of my leader directly onto my block. And then when I get to the next one, I'm going to open this up. I'm going to pick up fabric from number 2, place that on there, line up my raw edges, and stitch right over top of this. And then open this up and do the same thing here. I find when it's time to press these fabrics, it can get a little wonky. So I'm not going to bother using my iron. I'm going to finger press before I put this whole thing together. And then once it's all done, I'll give it a good heat press. I'll clip that off, stitch onto my leader and ender, and then clip that off. Now I've got something that looks like this. I'm just trying to make sure I can see what it looks like. There we go. So what I'm going to do is make sure, we're going to pick 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. So I'm ready to go from next one. I'm just going to keep those organized over there. I'm going to finger press the seams in opposite directions. And what I usually do is I press the middle in towards the middle, unless I have a lot of bulk in the middle, and I press the outer rows out. It's just easier for me to remember that way. It doesn't really matter, at least for this block, which way I'm pressing these, because these seams aren't going to nest with anything else. I'm framing them. And since I took the time to web stitch them or string piece them or whatever you want to call them, everything's organized and I don't have to worry about losing anything. So when I pick up my top row, I pick up the whole block. And now I'm just going to put these right sides together, and I can feel with my finger and my thumb if those rows, if those seams are nesting. So I'm going to bring it over here, and I'm going to stitch the first 2 rows together. Clip off my leader and ender. And then I'll come back over here. I'm going to check to make sure that looks good. I'm going to press it out away from the center. Looks good enough for me. Now I'm going to pick up the bottom row and do the same thing. And I'll bring it back over here, and now I've got my 9 patch. Lori Mullen says, I like the one she is sewing together right now the best. Thank you, Lori. We'll have to see how they all work together once I get the dots and the stripes around each one. All right, so you saw that I kind of picked up these, and now I'm going to stitch these down. There's the first two. I'm not cutting my thread so I can keep everything nice and organized. Look, this one's a little short too. It had to have been that last set that I did when I measured. I must not have measured that last fold just right, because I was in a hurry to get as much out of it as I could. But you know what? If I got just a couple extra from that last folded piece, that's better than throwing the entire thing away. So I'll take it as a win. I'm not going to look at it as I lost. I'm going to look at it as I won. I can always get more of this fabric if I need to. Craft On and So Forth says, hello, everyone. Been sick with bad cold or COVID. Grandson had, oh no, I'm sorry to hear that, Pam. Somebody must be asking, how am I going to put it on point? You're going to see. We're going to make the 9 patch just like we always do. And then I'm going to turn it 45 degrees. And I'm going to sew some triangles on. I'm going to show you exactly how I did that. It's also in the step-by-step tutorial that I did for this block when I was working with just the elephant fabric. Same concept. So if you're curious, for the center block, this center block has to square at 6.5 inches. Now that center block can be just a raw piece of fabric like we have there with the elephants, or it can be a pieced block as you see I'm making here, a 9 patch or maybe some flying geeses, whatever works for you. You don't have to always go with just a cut piece of fabric. You can have a pieced block be the center star or the center focal fabric. And then just like I did before, I'm going to press these out and away. I'm going to press the middle into the middle. And the reason why I'm pressing them in opposite rows instead of pressing open is because there's not a whole lot of bulk here. So I don't have to worry about a ton of bulk because there's just a little bit of fabric. So I'm going to be able to get this really flat, really easy without pressing open. And then also, because the seams are going in opposite directions, I don't have to take the time to keep poking the fabric with pins to see if my seams are perfectly lined up. I can feel it with my finger and my thumb. And so as I'm sewing, you'll notice I'm keeping a finger right here on this seam until I get a needle in there. And then once the needle's close or inside of it, then I'll just hold the next bit and I'll stitch right off. Yes, I am making both. I'm going to make 2 of each because I have 2 different elephant fabric or 2 different blocks. One where we're doing the dots around the accent or the main fabric, and one where we're doing the stripes. And I want to see how both of these 9 patches look with each of those configurations so that I can make a decision about which one I want to repeat. And it might be that I just end up mixing them up and do a little bit of each. Teresa Sato says, hi from Houston, first time catching a live. I have enjoyed watching all your previous videos. Thank you, Teresa. I'm glad you're here with us tonight. So I'm just going to reach over here and I'm going to put a hot iron on this block just to get it a little flat. I don't need to worry about it being super perfect, but there's one. And here is another. We're going to set this up here. Oh, Amy says, or since you really like tiny piecing, which you know I do, you could put a tiny pieced block in the center of the middle 2.5 inch square, or even do a small fussy. Yeah, you could. I actually have a whole collection of 2.5-inch blocks that I have made. So that would be fun. That would be fun. 1, 2, 3. I always put 1 on top, 2 in the middle, 3 on the bottom, and I stack them like that so that they stay together a little bit better. 1, 2, 3. So we'll pick up from 1, then 2, then 3, pick up 1, then 2, then 3, and this keeps me in order. Okay. Okay, here we go. Second 9 patch. This is the one with the diamond center that kind of looks a little bit like a jewel box. And also when they're put together, Zoey will be able to see the finished block with the dots and the stripes around it. And if she has a preference, she'll be able to make a decision about what she wants to be in it or not in it a little bit easier. She'll be able to make a more informed decision about what she likes. May be hard for her to visualize it if I don't give her a visual. Or a finished visual anyway. Bye, Lady Crafts. What pattern is this? It is just something I made up, but the cutting instructions to make this block, or this one, whatever, is in the description box down below. There's also a link to a live stream that I did as a video tutorial. I showed you how to make the block, and then you can decide how many times you want to make the block in your own project. Right now what I'm doing is making some 9 patches to replace the elephant in a few of the blocks on the quilt. Just giving you an idea of some of the possibilities that you could have. Mama Hardin, good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Press the top row out, middle row in, bottom row out, and now we'll piece those 3 rows together. Yeah. Alana says, now that you changed it, I like 3. And then we'll give this a press over here. Let's get it a little flatter. So this is what I've built so far. I'm going to build one more of this. So glad to be able to sew again, Lori Mullen says. No more restrictions for my broken collarbone and right arm after I fall off the ladder. Goodness, what are you doing falling off a ladder? Did you get pushed off a ladder? That wasn't nice. Oh, Wanda Huck says, first time live, but I gotta go now. Good night, everyone. Good night, Wanda. Thank you for stopping in. Kimberly says they are both pretty. Thank you. 9 patches, y'all. 9 patches. Love that triple green. Yeah, I know. Becca, are you planning on Jelly Roll Day, September 21st? Yes, I am. Thank you for the reminder. Sometimes I don't remember to announce things. So on Saturday, September 21st, I am going to host a live stream here with a couple other channels, and we're each going to pull a jelly roll and we're going to work on our own thing. I'm pulling a pattern from Jordan Fabrics. If you want to see what I'll be working on, you can go check out the video that I did last week where I showed off the quilts from the Stonehouse Quilters Guild show. There was a kit that I happened across from the boutique, and I'm going to be putting that kit together. I believe the pattern is a free pattern from Jordan Fabrics, so you could do it with me if you want to. I got to get that live stream scheduled. But for those of you that don't know, the folks that'll be on that live stream with me are going to be Sean from The Guy Who Sews. I haven't had him here in a minute. I'm going to have Donna from Handmade by Ying, and I'm going to have Stephanie Harris from Memoirs of a Long Arm Quilter. We'll be live for a couple hours just working on our jelly roll projects. The 9 patch is stealing the focus, Full-Time Life says. Well, it's not going to be all the time. Wait till I get it up on the board. Let's wait till I get one up on the board. And it might end up stealing the focus. And if that's the case, then these can just be used as an accent pillow, a couple accent pillows for her bed. No big deal. But we won't know if this is the way I want to go until I can see the blocks made and put together. These could also become cornerstones of the quilt and the borders, actually. Like I'm not wasting fabric. I can use these blocks, but by making just a few of them, it'll let me audition it first, see if it's something I want to do, and then go from there. And it really didn't take long to make those either. There we go. All right. So now that we have 6.5-inch blocks, we need 2 squares of the stripe and 2 squares, well, 4 technically, because we need, hold on. We need these on this block to make these 4 setting triangles that square it off, because that's what we're doing. These are setting triangles and these are snowballed corners. I need 2 squares that are 5.5 inches, and on each of the squares, we're going to cut them on the diagonal. Now, because the stripes are directional and I want to keep all the stripes going up and down, I need to actually cut 4 of the blue, but that's going to give me enough to be able to do the stripes for 2 different blocks anyway. And then this is going to be just maybe 4, I don't know, whatever. Let's just cut my squares. My brain's not working right now. I won't know what I need until I get to the point where I need it. So let's cut off a 5.5-inch chunk of this bad boy. Yep, that's the right one. Just gonna make sure everything is nice and even, nice and straight, very demure. Is that how that sound goes? It's around TikTok. Very demure, very natural. 5.5 inches. Rotary cutter, rotary cutter. Cutting, cutting. All right, now I'm gonna subcut this down 10 and a half, 5.5 and 5.5 is 11. So if I can arrange this so that the selvage is down a little bit more and I can get an 11-inch cut out of this. Oh, it's going to be tight. I don't think I can. No, I can't. That's okay. Not folded anyway. I might be able to do it the other way. So here's my 5.5. I've got 4 of those. I'm going to open this up and see if I can cut, is that 11 now? No. But I could cut this at 5.5 right here. And then the snowballed corners are 2.5 inches. So from this leftover, I'm going to cut a 2.5-inch strip. And then I'm going to cut 5 and then subcut down to 2.5 inches. This is going to give me 4 2.5-inch squares that are going to let me snowball. So this is scrap, this is trash. Scrap over here. I actually think I have some extra scraps here that I can use. Okay, that's enough, I think, for right now, because what's going to happen is I need 2 squares for each of the blocks, and I'm going to cut them on the diagonal. Since this is not directional, I only need the 2. That's going to give me 4 triangles. So I'm going to put the ruler on top of here and cut through on the 45 degree, just like this. And then I'm going to do this again because I'll use it for the other 9 patch. And I'm going to go ahead and do 1 of each. Show you how I set these. So this is how I want it to be. It doesn't really matter which way's up. I'm going to take a setting triangle and I'm going to put 1 around each side, but I want to find the center of the block when I do this. So I'm going to pick up the block, I'm going to fold it in half and just finger press where the center is on this edge and finger press where the center is on this edge. I'm going to do opposite corners each time. So I'm going to pick up this triangle, I'm going to fold it in half on the long edge. That's going to give me a finger crease there. And I'm going to do the same thing on the long edge over here. Finger crease right there. And now I'm going to line up the raw edges, making sure to start in the middle and put those finger creased pieces, those finger creased valleys right on top of each other. And I'm going to be very careful to not pull this triangle in any way because this is bias edge now. It's going to be stretchy and I don't want to warp things or make it wacky. So I'm just going to be very delicate. And then I'm going to turn around and do the opposite side to this one. I'll press this out underneath the triangle. Same thing here. Creative Cat says, I have been getting my chores done before I can sew, so your sewing is the next best thing. Waving to you from Memphis, from Robin. Hello, Robin. Last night I got home from work and my husband had plans with some friends, so it was just Zoey and I at home, and I wasn't really in the mood for people to start the evening off with. I just kind of wanted to be left alone. So I sat in the family room for a while with the dogs and I played fetch with them, and I decided it was time to do some, maybe I'd make some bread. Zoey had asked me to make another batch of white bread. So I got the bread maker out and I got all my baking supplies out and I cranked up some oldies and I ended up having a blast. My husband came in and I was dancing in the kitchen. So I did my chores yesterday. I cleaned the kitchen, I baked the bread, I did all of that so that I could sew tonight. No pins. I know, Zaza, you caught me. I think I was pinning a lot before I had the machine settle down into the table because it was easier for me to control the fabric when I had such a short space to put the fabric on. But now that I can lay it out on a length of table several inches in front of the needle, I just hold it. As long as I can hold it on a flat surface before the needle, then I don't find I need to pin or clip unless I have points that I am really trying very perfectly to hold in. You said that wasn't last. I guess you were right. You know me better than I know myself. I'm back to my old ways already. But I'm still using my leaders and enders. Lori says, homemade bread is so good. Yes, it is. Bye, Amy. She said, gotta go. It's dinner time with the hubby. Bye. Bye. See you later. Yeah, Saza said, you're also getting used to the machine now. That's true. I went back and watched the reel that I made where I unveiled Ruby. And I was like, introducing my 1951 vintage 301 Ruby, blah, blah, or whatever it was. I did a reel where I was stitching. I had somebody take the footage over my shoulder. And it was a little painful to watch me stop and go because I was definitely getting used to the machine. I was like, oh, come on, just go, just go, just go. It's fine. Hello, Valentina. All right, now that that block is all done, before I square it up and snowball it, I do like to take a minute to starch it and get it nice and flat. So I'm going to bring this over to my mat. Give it a little bit of pressing juice. Now I believe this block, once I've added those setting triangles, should measure at 8.5 inches. And so the way I square this up, I don't have an 8.5 inch square ruler that I want to use. And so what I was doing, let me just make sure this is 8.5. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's squared to 9. I'm glad I double checked. This squares to 9. And so what I'm gonna do is measure the center point right here, 4.5 inches. So I'm going to put the 4.5 inch mark right here on that diagonal. And I'm going to make sure that I am at least 1/4 inch away from this point. I'm definitely not going to lose that point. And then I'm going to sail through this, clean that up. I'm going to rotate 4.5 inches right through the center. Clean this up. Rotate. Am I sure that was 9? Because I feel like it was 8.5. I'll have to double check that. Good thing is I'm squaring at 9, so if I have to go down to 8.5, that's going to be relatively easy. Okay. Oh, you know what might have happened is I may, no, that's 6.5. And that I didn't square this up to make sure it was at 6.5. This is just shy of 9. Let me measure the other one to see. Nope, that's at 9. Okay, it's 9. Fine, that's fine. We'll figure it all out when we get there. Okay. So now that this is made, this is how the block looks. Do you see that? Now what I want to do is take these diamonds, put the setting triangles on this. And I don't know, that kind of looks like a flower. Now that I see it in here, I like that. But I couldn't see it until I had it in the setting triangles. You know what I mean? Grandma D says, I'm late. I see Tula fabric. Yeah, I'm working on Zoe's quilt. And don't forget, in a little bit, we're going to pop over to YouTube and we're going to see what you guys have been working on. So don't forget to do exclamation Facebook in the chat. That'll get you a link over to the Facebook group, and you can snap a picture of whatever is under your needle tonight and post it in the Facebook group, and we'll all get to see what you're working on too. And then as a reminder, again, you know, I really need to set up a command for that. So hold on a second, Lisa. I will do that in just a moment. Actually, no, I don't want to do that. It's his business contact information, so I'm sure he's okay with it being out there, but I don't want to put it out there publicly. I was going to set up a command for Bob's contact information. Bob is the gentleman that painted my singer. If you are interested in having a vintage machine repaired, painted, restored, or maybe even just looking to buy one, because he does have some that he would be willing to sell, you can give him a contact. If you need his contact information, you can email me at becca@sewbecca.com or mary@sewbecca.com. Either one of those will get you to one of the two of us. Both of us have his contact information. We'd be happy to share it with you. Okay. I want to snowball the corners of each of these two blocks and then do the same thing to the other two, but put the stripe right against the 9 patches. And then the blocks that I meant to try out tonight will be made. That'll give you guys time to take some pictures and post them to the Facebook group. Free Spirit says, I love the sound of Ruby. She sounds happy and healthy. I agree. I love the sound of her too. Valentina is here and says it is her first, or maybe his. I'm not sure if it's if they're man, woman, male, female, but it is. So we'll just use neutral. It is their first live. Welcome. Glad you're here with us. I'm gonna guess maybe female, Valentina. That makes sense. Okay, so that is the second block. This was block 1 and this was block 2. Oh, so pretty. I just want to sit here and look at them for a minute. They look so different now that they're in the setting triangles. Do you see? Like before, your eyes went here, but now it's just, this looks like a flower, and this looks like just a pretty diamond. All right, I need to cut the blue stripes so I can do the same thing to the others with the blue. So we're going to cut a 5.5 inch strip off of this. Ooh, Mary Rose Sprigg says, just finished fixing an error and finishing 2 more blocks of my Tula butterfly. Congratulations. 5.5. Five and a half. Now I know for this I'm going to have to cut another 5.5 inch strip because these are directional, and so one triangle I have to cut going from top left to lower right, and one I need to cut from top right to lower left so that I get that effect where the stripes all go in the same direction. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this. And then when I cut my snowball corners, the 2.5 inch squares, it really won't matter how I do that because those are going to be squares. But because I'm cutting these squares on the diagonal, it does matter. So I'm going to line up all 4. I'm going to cut 11 inches off of this. That's going to give me 2 sets of 4. Because 5.5 plus 5.5 is 11. There we go. There's that. And then I still have several 2.5 inches over there, but I'm going to cut just a few more 2.5 inches because I always can use those. I'm just going to cut one set of 2.5 inch. Yeah, they do. Zaza says those printed strips feel a little funny, almost a little rubbery. They do feel a little weird, don't they? Two and a half right here. There we go. And I've got some more of those. Okay, this will be in my pile for later. And last thing that I need to do, this is what I was explaining. I've got 2 that I'm going to have to cut each way. So I'm just going to lay them both out. So one I'm going to cut from the top left to the lower right, and the other I'm going to cut from the upper right to the lower left. But I want to make sure the stripes are going in the right direction when I do that. So these are extra to use later. So here we go. There's 4 setting triangles that are all going the same way. This is what I need to do. And these are all going this way. So what should happen now is when I bring in these squares and I set my triangles around them, I should be able to get all the stripes going in the same direction, which is up and down. So we're going to go like this, and then we're going to go like this, and like, nope, like this, and like this. So those are 4 for here. Boom, 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 boom. And then this one, we're going to do up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Okay, let's find our centers and stitch. And I'm probably going to chain piece a lot of this so I can get it going faster. Oh, are they? Zaza says they are horrible to sew for EPP. Okay. Okay. Grandma D says, those stripes are super hard to push a needle through. Yeah, I've noticed that too. If I do take the time to pin this, sometimes I'll have to move the needle because otherwise I feel like I'm, yep, there it goes. See, that one was going to give me a hard time. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. And I'm just pushing a very fine pin through it. I'm not even pushing a needle. And it's only through 2 layers of fabric, so I can only imagine what quilting this by hand would feel like. Linda says, so pretty, Becca. Thank you. I'm going to kind of set these like this so I can see that they're matching pairs. We're just going to stitch this really quick, and then we're going to do the other set. All right, we're going to press this, put on the other 2 triangles. Oh, Carol says, I really like your hair. Thank you. I appreciate that. Celine DeFlips said, hello all, first time catching the live. Hello, welcome to the live stream. Ooh, Alma says, I went to a great estate sale today. Awesome. Pam says, good night all. I feel miserable. I need to get some sleep. I hope you feel better soon, Pam. Nancy said, Becca, I love your apron. Me too. This came in a Missouri Star box that I got, and some of you may have accidentally seen that video. Missouri Star sent me a box to help celebrate their Sweet 16 birthday bash this month. And a spoiler alert, there was some things in the video that I talked about and wasn't supposed to talk about until September 17th. So I had to take the video offline. It'll come back out on September 17th. So some of you may have already seen me in this apron. I removed it as quickly as I realized I released it too soon. Oops. Mistakes happen. Jenny said, I seen it. Then you already know what it is. Oh, there's an AQS quilt show in Lancaster next week? Really? That's not too far from me. Maybe I will. What is next weekend? I don't think I have any plans either. Do they have hours on Saturday? I have to look it up because I might drive up to Lancaster for the day. Too bad I don't have anyone to ride with me. Maybe I'll take my husband and child, whether they want to go or not. My husband will go. My daughter might not be so interested. Yeah, I could show the box. There was nothing wrong with the box, but I wasn't supposed to talk about the giveaway, and I did. And so I took the video offline because I was talking about the giveaway in there, and I wasn't supposed to until the 17th. So I just took the video offline. What did I just do? You see what I just did? Do you see what I just did? Do you see what I just did? Do you see what I just did? Yeah, we want to know what you heard through the grapevine, Ian. What'd you hear? Oh, he heard through the grapevine that AQS is looking to do a quilt week in Dallas starting in 2026. Figures, you leave. Debbie says, hey, Jack. Oh, man. Uh-oh. Okay, I know. No, I don't know. Where's the fourth one? Where's the fourth triangle? I should have... Oh, hi. It's right there. I bet you $10. It's this one, maybe? Sarah Stitches says, I purchased another Singer 301 sewing machine on Labor Day. A restaurant owner purchased it to make masks with and no longer needed it, so he sold it to me off of Facebook Marketplace. Wonderful. Bill says, I think it's safer for Ian to enter Texas quilt shows from afar. That was so sad. There we go. That's the one. Phew. All right, let's try this again. You're not really sewing until you pull out Jack. Ah! I'm all sorts of turned around. Okay, there we go. All right, this one should be done the right way now. Let me give it a pressy press. A little starchy starch. A little press and juice. And now I'm going to tell you that now that I see the stripes on it going next to this, I don't think I love it. Because I think the stripes are competing, well, actually, maybe I do in the camera. In person, I don't know if I loved it, but in the camera, I maybe do. It's so funny how they take on different looks. Just completely a different look when you add these setting triangles in. So see, this is what it looked like this is what the two look like next to each other. Oh, I do still like those. Hey, Katie. So those two. And let me put on the other two triangles for this one, and then we'll see what the other two look like. Make sure this is going in the right direction. Yep, I think it is. Let me just double check. Yes, okay. Takes my brain a minute to register that the direction of the fabric is correct. Oh, right, I gotta pay that. I'm thinking about bills that a couple of bills I forgot to pay earlier this week. I need to get those paid tomorrow. Okay. Yeah, we'll do this snowballed corners, and then we'll have, which are going to go really quick, And then we'll have what these 4 blocks will look like. Because you're right, once we add those snowballed corners, these are going to look even different than they do right now. You took the 9 patches and you added the setting triangles to them, and they looked different. And then when we add the snowballed corners, they're going to look even different. It's just going to keep morphing. And then once you have the block fully made and you put it up on the design wall behind me with some of the other blocks, they're going to look even different. Every time you take another step, you're just continuing to grow the art and you're taking on new looks. Okay, so these are all squared now. Now all I want to do is snowball them, but I want to snowball them in contrasting fabric. So for the stripe, that's going to be really easy. We're going to grab 4 dots. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 for the first one, 1, 2, 3, 4 for the second one. And then for this one, it's the stripes, but we want to make sure the stripes are going up and down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so to do that, I like to take it and put it in the corner and then test flip it to make sure the stripes are going up and down. And then I'm just gonna, I've done corner to corner so much that I feel like most of the time I can eyeball it, so I'm just eyeballing it. Same thing over here. Test, flip, stitch. Okay. Here's the first one. I can go back in and trim that later. I just want to press this down so that you can see the visual while I stitch the others. Give that a little bit of heat to have those lay over. Okay. So that's what that looks like now. Now let's do this one. You do not have to use the same colors I used in my example. You are free to change it up if you... Oh, sorry. That's for Katie. I just started reading a comment. It wasn't for me. Those are the 2 blocks so far. Now I got to snowball the dots. This should go pretty quickly. And then we'll have our 4 blocks made. I'm saving myself a little bit of time by using piggybacking, like leapfrogging block 1 and block 2 to be leaders and enders. This will make it a little bit more efficient. I don't know why I didn't think of that earlier. I just didn't. Last one. Okay. There we go. So these are the 2 side by side with the different setting fabrics. Sister Marie's Kitchen said, I forgot, when is the virtual retreat? It is the last weekend in October, October 26th and October 27th. This month, our Zoom will be on Sunday, September 29th. Okay, so let's get these out of the way, put them in my pile of fabrics to use later. Here's the 2, and then here is the other 2. Oops, let's do it this way. All right, so what I'm going to do at this point is go over to my design wall. So I'm going to bring up the full screen, and we're going to put some of these blocks up back here and see how these accent pieces work, because I've got 1 of each one. So I'm not going to worry about secondary patterns or anything like that. I just want to see how these play when I have them in with the elephants. And I do envision that from a distance, that green is going to pop out at you a lot more than the elephant fabric will. So I'm just going to do something like this. Where we have that kind of in here. And then we'll do like this and this to do, actually, let's change it out a little bit. Oops. Nope. Okay. There we go, this is it. Like this. Okay, so hear me out here. I kind of envision something more like this happening, but I need another. Hold on, I gotta space it out. I know what's in my head. I'm just having a hard time getting there. Here, like this. So 9-patch elephant, 9-patch elephant, like that, kind of. Nope, that's not right. Oh, it's because I don't have the dime, I don't have more with dots. And that's what I would need for up here. But I'm going to kind of play it out like this, maybe. I can't read the chat from back here. But you kind of get the idea. Let's just put the other ones in too. Like that. Yeah, you get the picture. Yeah, you get the picture. I want to see how it looks on the camera. Is that your red and white quilt on Facebook? It's gorgeous and a huge thank you. I love both of them, Becca. You should use both. I probably will use both, actually, because it adds a little bit of visual interest. And so what I can see from back here, and I'm not going to put these up in any real order. I'm just going to stick them up there. Maybe. We'll see. Hold on. Yeah, we'll put it right there. Nope. We'll put it over here. I said I wasn't going to put it up here in any kind of order. And look at me. I'm already like, no, let's put it over here. Oh, shoot. My thought was, if I kind of just intermingled them, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do every other block different. Here, we'll put this here for now. I just wanted to see if those diamonds were going to take away from the elephants. And I don't think they do. I think they add some. But my head is in the way. And so is my chair. And I want to sit down and see it in the screen. So my eye itches. So I don't want to do sashing because there is a secondary pattern that happens right in here that makes an hourglass. And I really like that. Plus, if I space them out, and I'll show you what that looks like. If I space them out like this, it doesn't give me the effect that I feel like I'm looking for. Though, if I did that, I certainly could use the pops of color to be the cornerstones. That's what it would look like. Let's just take a step back so you guys can see. That's what it would look like with some sashing in there. And you know what? Actually, originally, I thought I didn't like it with sashing, But now when I walk out of the frame of the camera and I stand on the other side of the room and I kind of squint my eyes, I think I kind of like it. Especially if I used that really pretty green to be the cornerstone. Or let Zoey pick the color that she likes the best. I just would want it to be one of the tiny dot colors because I can't use the elephant. Too big. Don't want to cut that up for that. And I don't want to use the stripe or the dot because that's what's in the outside of all of the blocks. But if I use the tiny dot, one of those three colors, that could be a little cornerstone in there. And those tiny dots, that fabric should be a little bit easier to get than more of the elephant too. So I only bought a yard of each one of those three. What do you guys think? I'm going to come back around so I can see the chat. Sashing or no sashing? What kind of sashing are you going to use? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I would do a white. I don't know. Because I really hadn't thought about no sashing. No sashing. The dots are the best. I like with sashing. Good evening, you all. Been watching, not commenting. Hello, Flo. Holly says, I think as long as you keep that little hourglass shape from the snowballed corners, it will look amazing. I love the snowball. I like that too. Janine says, it is starting to look a whole lot more like a trellis garden quilt with the sashing. You're not wrong. It looks a little bit like it because it kind of has that shape, but it's a different shape. I might pull them back in. Yeah, I might pull them back in. The green diamond block. If I'm being honest, I'm looking at the video feed on my screen, and I'm going to tell you right now, I almost love that one and that one. This is kind of cool, and that one's kind of cool. But I feel like with this one up here, it kind of, the purples are blending into the blues. This looks a lot like an argyle pattern to me. But this kind of looks like a whimsical flower. It kind of looks like the dots are almost lights going around a flower. And I like the same effect up here. But I also know that when I cut the dot up, I'm not always going to get perfect dots. Like if you look at this one, the dots aren't perfectly in there. So I don't know if I like that. But I do like the contrast between the 9 patch and the dot. Which is interesting because I think I like the contrast of the stripe with the elephant and the dot with the 9 patch. So I wonder if I did something like this, I could reuse those other elephant blocks that I've already made in something else. But what if the quilt was this? Elephants are always with the stripe. 9 patches are always with the dot. And I could change up the 9 patches, right? I could have them, it doesn't matter what the 9 patches are. They can all be different 9 patches. And sometimes I can make, with my little tiny scraps and cutoffs from this fabric, I can make little tiny pieced 2.5-inch squares to go right in the middle there. Because if this is a quilt for my daughter, it's worth the extra work, right? What do you think of that? Still getting a couple for sashing. Yes, 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 yes. In my sewing world, I would love a color for the cornerstone and not have enough fabric and then go get a second choice and have to mix colors. You plan or buy better than I. Oh, girl, you don't know how much I have gone back. So true story. I bought 4 yards of that elephant fabric when I was like, okay, I'm going to make this quilt for Zoe. I bought 4 yards of elephant fabric, 2 yards of the stripe, 2 yards of the dot, and 1 yard of each of the three colors of the tiny dots. I didn't know what I was going to do. So what is that, like 2, 4, 8, 11 yards of fabric? Yeah. And then I got it here and I started cutting up the elephants. I was like, oh, I'm not going to have enough elephants. I need more. So I went back to the same store and I bought another 4 yards. And I went, oh, I'm probably going to run out of the stripes and the dots, the big dots. And so I bought another 2 yards of both of those. So another 8 yards worth of fabric. Yeah, so you just didn't see me go do that. You didn't hear me talk about it, but I definitely had to go back and buy more fabric. And now when it's all done, I'm going to have so much extra probably, because if we're talking about only doing the elephants with the stripes, then I don't need the extra 4 yards of the elephants that I bought and put in the project bin, nor do I need the elephants that are already on my shelf. So we'll see. Elephant 9, elephant row 1, 9. Yep, elephant 9, elephant 9, elephant 9, elephant row 1, 9, elephant 9, row 2. Yep, yeah, that's what I was thinking, Angela. So row 1 the odd rows would start with an elephant, the even rows would start with a 9 patch. And so you would kind of have like, I like that. I think I like that. And the extra ones, you're right, you can use those for an extra throw quilt, because there's going to be blocks in there that maybe I don't use. I can make a pillowcase out of them. Hello, Wanda. Welcome back. Auntie Carol M says, much better. I'm sorry, I am reading the chat and I'm looking at the video feed of the blocks, because sometimes when I'm making something, and you guys do it too, you are making something, you're working with it, and then you take a picture of it with your phone and then study it on your phone, and things jump out at you on that photo that didn't jump out at you before. And that's kind of what's happening for me here. As I'm looking at it, I'm seeing it in the video feed. Terry says you can make a car cover with all that yardage. Yeah. Yeah, but I'm not going to use Tula Pink fabric to cover my car. Tammy says, sorry, but I don't see the elephants. It is kind of hard to see because it is at a distance, but the elephants are here. It's busy from a distance. And then there's a lot going on in the print too. Okay, let's take a look and see what you guys have been working on in the Facebook group. All right. We're going to head back over to the Facebook group. We're going to refresh and see what you guys have been working on tonight. We've got a few member requests. Melanie Taylor says, I have 8 yards of the animals, 8 half yards of the birds, and 8 fat quarters of the stripe, all bought when they first came out. I have no idea what to do with them. Big prints can be a little intimidating to work with because you don't know how to cut into it, and you're afraid you're going to ruin the yardage if you cut into it wrong. So Deborah says, I'm working on the small quilt, first photo, that are on the leftover corner pieces from the quilt. Sorry, I am working on the small quilt, first photo, that are the leftover corner pieces from the quilt that I finished in the second and third photos. So far, it's 28 inches by 42 inches. I don't know if it will get much bigger as I have run out of the yellow fabric. The large quilt is a free pattern from Jordan Fabrics. See, look at what your scraps can do. I kind of love that. That's great. I like how you offset the triangles in the border. Roberta says, a quick sketch of my thoughts for the elephant quilt you are working on. Yeah, that would work. And then you're kind of representing the 9 patches, right? So you got a 9 patch, 9 patch, 9 patch, and they're all kind of angled in a little bit. That'd be kind of cool. I like that. Thank you. Karen Huff says she's finished her donation top. That is gorgeous. I'm sorry, Linda. She said, I've got her yawning now. Sister Marie says, you should do a 9-patch. I use blocks like this for leaders and enders and make pet quilts. Or funny you should do a 9-patch. Yeah. I know a lot of people that do that. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Alma says, this is my 3-yard quilt I recently made. It's a couple of rows short. The beer quilt is what I call it, made for my daughter from promotional t-shirts she received from serving jobs she has had. It is finished and at her house. The others are works in progress. I love seeing your work. I love seeing all of you put your work out there. I know. I'm so sorry my yawn made you yawn. I'm getting tired. I am a night owl naturally, but I train myself to not be because my husband does not be. And, work, you have to get up to go to a job. So about 10 o'clock, as much as I want to keep going, my body's like, okay, it's bedtime. It's bedtime. Terry says, just making more dresses for Project Dress a Girl 2024. Also, I just got back to doing some small embroidery projects after about 40 years. I'm not kidding. It's just nice to sit and just stitch. Cleanses the mind for me. That's beautiful embroidery. I really need to get more into embroidery. I love the way it looks. I love the thought of doing it. I just don't do it. And I've got a few kits. And I think a lot of it is I just don't remember that I have it to work on until I see somebody else did one. I'm like, oh, I could have done that. And Debbie says, these are recently finished tops. Oh, I love this. Victoria says, this is my take on a potato chip block. I love this. That looks so fun. Wow. Nice, Victoria. That's very nice. Zaza said, I thought I was a psychopath, but now I've started yawning. It's just a delayed reaction. Linda says, I'm usually asleep by 11 Central Time and up by 5:30. No, thank you. Alma says, this was an estate sale in Midwest City, Oklahoma. Fabric was $3 a pound. And oh my goodness, look at those vintage machines, you guys. This was an estate sale? Oh, come home to me, babies. Oh. Oh my goodness. Wow. If you buy enough machines, do you get the pair of shoes for free? Whoa. I know, Angel says, who wants to go to Oklahoma with me? Hi, pick me up. Wow. Oh my goodness, $3 a pound. Oh, back to the beginning. Zaza said, this is what my estate sale will look like. Wow. Debbie says, this is what I've been working on. I started out doing the background with ruler work, and after some hair pulling, I figured out how to do it with Pro Stitcher. Laura says, I'm making fabric baskets to use in my sewing room. I began with one of those fabric pieces I made from scrap fabric about 10 inches by 9 inches in size, laying to the upper left corner of my sewing table, which is up here. Discovered a YouTube content provider who shares ideas for using scraps to make other things. This little basket is collapsible, but they can be any size. I can even make a set and nest them. This was my first one, and I made it this evening. I made some couching using yarn to dress it up a bit. Oh, that's a cool idea. I like it. Kimberly Brown says, I will attempt to sew these lobsters on the quilt label for this friend's quilt and then bind it. Aw. I like your label. Deb Rhodes says, this is my evening project for the last house, started in January 22, finally getting it close to done. Oh my goodness, I am going to fall asleep. Katie Vaught says, I've decided to make myself a new shower curtain. I like that fabric. Tracy Hester says she's just getting started with some lovely black, white, and red fabrics. Kelly says, this is her By Annie's round trip duffel. Koalas are my spirit animal. I found this koala fabric years ago and bought the whole bolt. I have lots of projects made from it. Deb says, what I'm working on this evening as I enjoy the live stream, Tango Runner pattern from Inca's Treasures. I like that. That's pretty. So Terry says, I'm over here trying to figure out the model of those machines. Good night, nurse. Shirley Kessinger says, another charity quilt for the hospital. Nicely done, Shirley. Thank you for making a charity quilt. Donna Strunt says, just finished up this one for Legit Kits, and it's nice to know I can still FPP. Fun projects. And this is her hazel quilt that she was talking about on her live stream earlier today. Always watching. Always watching, Wazowski. Working on a Cotton Cuts 2024 block of the month program. These are the July and August blocks. Heather made a beautiful Halloween-themed purse. Let's take a look at the details on this. Ooh. Nice. Nice. Saza says, wow, that eye. Here's another charity quilt from Shirley. You're knocking them out. Kelly did Patchability's September calendar block. Roberta's sewing tonight was hand sewing for the first time the binding on this display rack storage bag for a fellow bookie for the book club who makes and sells dog biscuit treats wherever she can set up a booth. Oh my goodness. Tina Romo says, a work in progress. This is the Summer Breeze paper piece and a red quilt finished. So excited. You guys. Oh. So gorgeous. Oh, and here's the red and white quilt that she finished. Wow, I like what you did with the corners. Look, what a neat idea. I like that. That's really nice. Tanya Rogers says she made these curtains for her hubby's garage and he loves them. Motorcycle fabric. Kathy Nelson, hi everyone. I just finished a pin cushion out of a milk glass candy dish. Also got a couple of tops done. The pattern is by Donna Jordan called Galaxy. So pretty. Holly says, oops, I forgot to add that I also got my August block done for my temperature quilt. And there it is. Lori says, 3 quilted and bound, 1 to the left, 1 left to base, quilt, and bind today so my son can take them to California with him on Sunday. I hope you are making some wonderful progress, Lori. I love the colors in that pastel quilt to the left. Oh, look at all the cowboys. Yes, I'm live tonight. Yes, I'm live tonight. Holly says, all I got done this week, this and getting my garden quilt dropped off at the Long Armors. The new bird is the sparrow block from the Wonderful's free FPP Bird Watcher block of the month. Lynn says, my work in progress today, plus others posted below or LOL above, not sure. Oh my goodness. Karen says, this week I finished a quilt of valor for my sister-in-law. She loves Polish pottery, so the fabric designs are from Polish pottery. Carol Lawrence says this is her latest quilt. Oh, so pretty. I want to do a 3D block, like a 3D quilt like that, that's got perspective. It's just got so much motion, like a tumbling block or something. It's on my list. Susan, you're out finished clue 1 for her small bluebell for Wild West. Deborah Weber says, I'm working on a table runner. It's been a nightmare. Very bad directions for the pattern. Oh, I'm so sorry. Lisa Cloninger says she's getting ready to cut into this fabric for a Halloween quilt. I could definitely see a Halloween quilt out of that. Oh, wow. Margie Hall says these are her Tula animals currently on her long arm. Looking at the 9 patches in the corners of those blocks and getting ideas. Zaza says, those optical illusion blocks fry my brain. And Thea says she's making some purses for her friend's booth at a craft fair. That's awful nice of you. I hope they all sell. Janine says she's finishing this up for a baby shower tomorrow. Janine, you better get working. That doesn't look like it's quilted yet. You better move faster. Jody says, I finally finished my son's Halloween quilt I started 11 years ago. Way back then, I purchased some glow-in-the-dark material, and I tried getting more as I ran out of it, and I wanted to do the words Happy Halloween with it. Anyway, I couldn't get any. I hand-stitched the binding on with crosses and machine quilted it myself. Also, I did a corner label on the back. Okay, computer doesn't want to respond. Oh, there it goes. Oh, it's got Minky in the back. For my son Kai, made by Jody. I love it when they reveal quilts like that. It's so cute. I hope he loves it. Janine says, it's quilted now, and I'm currently hand-stitching the label on. Good for you. And we're back to the beginning. All right, friends, it's a little bit after 10. I've been sitting here yawning. If you haven't been able to tell, I am very tired. It's been a long week. But it's been a good week. Very fulfilling. Super excited to have a couple of days to sit in the sewing room and just work on some quilty projects. Maybe we'll even make a little bit more progress on that bad boy there. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight. I had a blast as always. Don't forget to tune in next week where we'll be working on something in the sewing room. I have no idea what it is, but we'll figure it out then. Have a wonderful week. Tell someone you love them, and I'll see you next week. Bye.